Well, good morning. So last week I talked about quantum theory and the shift it has made for me as a coach working with couples. And I also stated that because of the advance in neurosciences, our neural pathways are more malleable than we originally thought. So we can create new neural pathways. And it was Norman Doidge, a Canadian, who introduced the idea of neuroplasticity in his book, The Brain That Changes Itself. And he defines neuroplasticity as the brain's ability to change its own structure and function in response to activity and mental experience. Our brains aren't rigidly hardwired as once believed, but that they can change and can be rewired. Indeed, what is unique about the brain is that its circuits can, through mental experiences and activity, form, unform, and reform in new ways. And in his book, it's 2007, his book, so I'd read it a few years back, but the case study, pardon me, he did a number of case studies, and the one that has stuck in my head was with a stroke victim. And we know that with stroke patients that if something is the right side, say, becomes paralyzed, apparently there's about a 60-day window where some of that comes back, but then it sort of plateaus. And the tendency for victims of stroke is to, if my right side doesn't work very well, to use my left side. And what Deutsch did, he would tie down the good hand and force the patient, this is the case that I remembered, force the man to use his affected arm and leg. And the patient over time was able to create new neural pathways where he recovered most of the use of his arm and leg that had been damaged by the stroke. Okay, so for me, the same thing makes sense with couples. If they treat each other, in positive ways and eliminate any negativity right now in the space between, then they can create new neural pathways, and those new neural pathways can heal the damage that was done in childhood. I'm not saying that insight is not helpful. It can be. But I think more important now is the way people treat each other in the space between. Because it's a real energy field, isn't it? It's a microcosm of the macrocosm. So quantum theory says everything is connected. And so your relationship is a tiny piece of that macrocosm that wants to be connected. And if we put negativity in there, it causes disconnect. So by committing to zero negativity in the space between, couples begin to rewire their brains for connection. They can create or recreate their original wholeness, which was characterized by joy, peace, safety, and connectedness. And now, I suppose the flip side of the coin of no negativity is to increase the positives, to amplify the positives, appreciations and affirmations. And I encourage people to say those out loud. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. You did a good job. Because again, from an old brain point of view, if I'm constantly hearing, hey, thanks a lot, I appreciate that, my old brain can relax. This is not the enemy over there, it's my ally. We're on the same team. And over time, new neural pathways will be created. And the negative ones will shrivel up. I'm not saying that they'll go away completely, but it does follow the axiom, use it or lose it. And if we create and put the energy, remember our energy follows our attention. If we can put our attention on the new neural pathways, the positive ones, then the old ones sort of fade away through lack of use. So the two obviously go together. Quantum theory is telling us that everything is connected and that an intimate relationship is just a little tiny piece of the bigger universe. And neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its own structure and function in response to activity and mental experience, assures us that, in fact, we can rewire our brains for connection. So neuroplasticity isn't limited to stroke victims, okay? Positive interactions and zero negativity in the space between, in the present moment, right now, heals the past for couples, right? So for me, it really is a change in emphasis. Whereas before, 30 years ago, I focused more on, the imago, how you're connected probably to somebody who has some of the positive negative traits of your parents. And I'm not saying that's not helpful, it is. And then for years, I focused on safety. because of that old brain. To me, it just makes sense. If you don't feel safe, you'll defend yourself. It's 500 million years. But now, because of quantum theory, I really think that if couples can really focus on the space between and make it a sacred space, holy ground, no negativity in the space between, they can start to create and heal the past through creating new neural pathways. Okay? Anyway, have a great day, great week, and I'll see you next week.